Sziasztok, én Baska vagyok, és a mai vendégem nem igényel bemutatást, 3-szoros olimpiai bajnok, edző Hosszú Katinkával, mostanában performance coachként tevékenykedik olyan sportolókkal, mint Szoboszlai Dominik, vagy éppen Bogdán Ádám, vagy éppen a síelőreménység Trunk Tomi, vagy Double T, ő Shane TUSUP, akivel ma az NBA-ről fogunk beszélgetni. Hány kilót dobatna le Luka Doncsicsal? Hogyan tanítaná meg Ben Simmont triplázni? Mihez kezdene egy olyan robottal, mint Kawhi Leonard, vagy éppen egy olyan hatalmas ikonnal, mint LeBron James? Erre hamarosan mind fény derül, és már most mondom, hogy a Patreon támogatók ezt a beszélgetést teljes egészében vágatlanul nézhetik meg. Ez nagyjából 45 perc, úgyhogy ha kedvet kaptál, akkor ez is egy ok lehet a csatlakozásra. Most azonban jöjjön Shane TUSUP!
We have a social and psychological experiment going on these weeks called the NBA bubble. What were your first thoughts about the experiment, about how Adam Silver and his crew came up with the idea? And how do you think it affects an athlete's mind in the short, in the medium, and in the long term?
They've clearly, at this point, you can see they've done a fantastic job protecting the athletes. But in terms of how it affects the athlete, it really is an experiment. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. You could see that it just had such an impact on how the players were performing. You had a lot of players who, I don't want to say they're not mega stars. You know, they had some stars that were performing. They were great players, but they were the ones that are a little more comfortable. Normal seasons, they've only gotten so far. They get to the playoffs, first round. These guys were going off for big numbers, for great performances. Guys that weren't performing regularly in season. Part of it was coming out of the Corona lockdown. Part of it was, getting into that bubble. They're coming out. It was kind of, you get the vibe that these are the guys that like to play street ball. They like to play in their backyard. They go off in the YMCA. They're going off and they don't mind there's no fans. With you and me, we play against someone like LeBron. He's going to use that anxiety with the fans, the crowd. He's going to use the pressure. He's going to use all those as a tool to really mess with our heads and to use it against us, where he's super comfortable. I mean, since freshman in high school, he's had a fan base, sold out arenas. So it was interesting to see all of a sudden that tool is taken out of his toolbox.
What do they miss the most? Family, friends, routines, shopping?
Honestly, I'd say you're going to see a little bit of everything on everyone, whether they admit it or not. Some things will affect players more. I mean, obviously with someone like LeBron, who has his own private chef, he's got his big family all surrounding him at all times. He's a very big family man. Him not being able to be there for his wife's birthday is definitely, someone like him is going to be bothered by that. Where you see Jimmy Butler, he's like, I don't even want my family to come. This is business trip. It's all business. And it's working for him. That just killer instinct is working for him. And the Heat is following him. They can't turn off from the game. There's no off switch. You have a bad game, you just stew in it until the next game. And for a lot of them, the family, the routines, the just those other human parts of your life give them a way to kind of go, it's just a game.
We've talked about different topics, and the first time we met, 20 seconds later, we were talking about Luka Doncic. Yeah. And I arrived with 4 players I would like to pick your brain about. And the first one is Luka, because after 30 seconds, you mentioned that, okay, this guy should lose weight and how much he could achieve if he just lost weight. If you were there to guide him, to coach him, what do you think Luka would achieve with losing weight and how much he should lose? Because I see that he can make the jumpers, he can make the step backs, he gets to the rim, he creates the space, he rarely gets blocked. He doesn't seem to be injury prone, but we will see that. But obviously weight is an issue there. But from a performance and the player standpoint, do you really think he should lose weight and how much?
It's so tough because as a fan, I go, look, the guy's amazing. And I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's amazing. I'm rooting for him like crazy. From a performance expert side, I'm going to correct you for a second. I don't think it's losing weight. Mm-hmm. I step on the scale, the number's not going to change. Actually, I would almost say he needs to go up in weight when you step on a scale. But for me, that comes from the muscle to fat ratio. I want the body fat to go down. It's not about how much I think he can achieve per se. It's that I'm very surprised with what he's doing, that the body looks the way it looks. So for me, it's more of like, I wonder when he's doing all the stuff he does, you assume there's a certain amount of work in the background. And you're seeing a lot of these guys who are not necessarily known for their hard work, like say a LeBron, they're still ripped, they're still in shape. And you go and you know he's performing in the way he's unstoppable. He's an amazing athlete. But then he's looking like, if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't necessarily go, oh my God, that's an NBA superstar. Oh my God, look how good he's an athlete. You go, okay, he looks like a normal guy. Like he could probably pass. And it's like, you start to go, if he's doing all the work he needs to be that amazing, why is he not looking that way? So for me, I go, is either he's eating absolutely horrible, which we've seen in the past with a lot of players, including Tim Duncan and some of these guys, like their diets are so bad because education is not there coming from where they come from. For me, working with the athletes, I'm always trying to make sure they're partners so that they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So it's not just, hey, do this, or hey, eat this. It's, why are we eating this? How does it feel? Hey, yeah, you want to eat McDonald's? Fine. Eat McDonald's and go play a soccer game. How'd you feel during that game? Yeah. You felt like crap, right? Like it's
McDonald's has a special effect of feeling that you have a stone in your stomach.
Yeah.
Eating the same amount of calories from different foods. I've played with a lot of foods in my stomach, but McDonald's has a certain stone vibe, and you feel like you're drained from your energy.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's that.
And for what I've always tried to teach my athletes is like, it's not about what you eat. You're an athlete. You're going to burn it all. Like, we're not worried about you being overweight unless we have that issue. We'll talk differently. But it's about the fuel. And for me, it's like they don't understand what the fuel is and what's good fuel and bad fuel. So you have to think of like a car. You're a Ferrari. You got to put good fuel in. So for me, bringing it back, it's like, I wonder what kind of fuel he's putting in his system. And then that wonders, it's not only, I think he could do this. It's if he's putting this fuel in there, that his body is doing the work and he comes out like this, I can't imagine that's good fuel, because he shouldn't be looking like that. His body should be a lot more lean. He should be a lot more ripped. I wouldn't want any weight loss, because he needs that weight to be able to pull off some of those moves, to be able to push his way around. It's more about, he needs that muscle mass, because one, muscle is going to protect your bones, it's going to protect your knees. You're going to have more protection, more control. And the possibilities of what he can do will go up. And if he's not carrying that extra weight, he's going to be less fatigue on his body. I mean, let's be serious. Fat doesn't help you do anything. You can't use it. I mean, you can throw it around a little bit and use it for some moves, but you can't perform any actions. You can't explode to the rim. It's just, you're carrying it. Yes. So you're going to fatigue. So I start to wonder, like, it's more for me of what could we do? What could he do? I would be advising his team, and that's the first thing I'd be looking to, what exactly he's eating. And not changing it, but trying to see what he's eating, to see where this is coming from, to see what he's doing in the gym. Because if it's not the diet, for me, I start to wonder if it's, which is a normal phenomenon, but he's a gamer. He goes out and he performs. He loves the game. He will kill himself. Allen Iverson was kind of like that. He would kill himself for that game. Anything I have to do to win this game, I'm going to do. And he'll come out with big shots, game-winning shots, but he doesn't necessarily like to do everything he has to do in the gym. He'll do enough to be good, to work on skills. But the extra reps on the bench, the extra reps in the squat rack, it's just not there, and it's not his thing.
I came up with 3 names I would like to discuss with you, and each has its own, well, we can say problem, we can say feature or characteristics. The first type is the guy who can do something, but only in practice and not on the court, even when millions are begging for it. And this guy is, in my example, Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. Ben Simmons, who is also a freak of nature, playing great defense, long limbs, stuff like that. You can see all the footage from summer on shooting threes in practice. And after that, he shoots 1 free every 5th game. And it's just something that you can't live by in the NBA. It must be a mental block. How do you handle situations like this as a performance coach? And then not saying what we should do with Ben Simmons from now on, but let's talk about different types of players. So what do you do with an athlete who performs great and does stuff during practice, but the performance just simply doesn't come out when the time is right?
with Ben Simmons, I'd want to be there. I'd want to see, like, it's such a fascinating thing that he's such a good player and he's having such a simple problem. And he's clearly, there's some block. It's some kind of yips out. He just can't get out of his head. He can't just let it happen. I feel like, in my opinion, he'd need to see a psychologist, that someone who's more geared towards like a focal point. It's something in the subconscious. He needs to kind of get out of that. There's a few like clever ways to do it that sports psychologists typically use, where you kind of focus on a point, you're talking about it, you're kind of going through the motion, you're trying to figure out where it is you're getting stuck. I mean, he can shoot threes.
Yes.
He just can't shoot them in the game. And it's really getting to know him and really sitting down and trusting his feedback to you, because it's got to be it's a simple solution. It almost always is. It's some small little thing. For me, the first thing is to sit down with the athlete and kind of talk about it. Like, what is it that you're thinking through? Like, really getting to know them and them going through the process and getting them to open up about their fears. And a lot of times it's fears. It's fear of missing. It's fear that they always miss, so therefore they're going to miss again. So right now, my guess would be that he's going through some version of, I can shoot, like you said, he can shoot in practice, but he can't shoot in the game. But now he knows he can't do that. So he's practicing in practice, but he's not getting enough reps in the game. And it's embarrassing to do that. We're living in a social media age. It's going to amplify all of that. So now if he wins the game with a good score, or good stats, we're good. That was the old days. Now he can win the game with a good stats, and all we're going to talk about is how he missed 12 threes.
You couldn't have finished this segment better, because our next subject is someone who doesn't give a shit about social media, doesn't give a shit what people think about him. And this guy is Kawhi Leonard. And I believe that as a performance coach, and I don't know this area, that's why we are talking now, that in some way you have to find the triggers, you have to find what messes with his head. How can you make him do the 10th stuff from what he believes he can do 8, and how you can push harder. How do you do that with a guy who seems to have no feelings? So what can it be like to train and coach a guy like Kawhi Leonard?
It's fascinating for me, because my go-to answer to you would be, like, I really, really, really strongly believe that you need to get to know the athlete. You need to be, like, I don't care if you are the head coach of an NBA team and, you're worth millions and you have so many things going on and responsibility. You have to take the time to sit down for coffee or sit down and have dinner with your players one-on-one, get to know them really well, because you need to know what their lives are like, where they came from, all those little things about their persona, where they've come from and stuff. It changes how you want to interact with them. No one's the same. So it's like, it'd be so fascinating to see what really makes him tick. And I think what we see is so different. I do think he has emotions. I think he has personal drive. I think with his crew, with his uncle and the people around him, I think he is very open with them about what he wants to accomplish and what he wants. I've heard that he wanted to be a superstar. He wanted to lead a team. He wants to lead multiple teams. I think he's a unique guy, where just doing the same thing every time, like, he didn't want to just keep winning with the Raptors. He wanted to be leading another team. He wanted to lead a team in LA. And you see that he does have these desires. You just got to figure out what buttons to push. And you got to figure out, by getting to know him and the people around him, because his uncle is talking in his ear. These people are part of his stimuli. Those all matter. You need to not just know him, but know who he's with. You got almost, the more you know about these people's backgrounds and stories and current lives, without crossing the border of being too intimate with them, it's so relevant to how you coach them and how you stimulate them on the court, because everything's once you learn these things, then you're using it.
You mentioned that you have to know the people around him. Mm-hmm. There's one guy in the NBA who seems to know everybody in the NBA. His crew seems to know everybody around the NBA. It's turning into a little mob, and people are getting annoyed with how much power LeBron James has in the NBA, and not just as a player, but as a guy with agents around him, in the company, and how it was close to mob methods, how Anthony Davis got traded to the Lakers. And there's a guy who I believe never had a coach even close to his level. And my theory with you imagining what could have been with Luka losing weight, I always think about, okay, what if LeBron James spends 3 years with Greg Popovich from 2007 to 2010, so in his formative years. Now he's close to untouchable. You can't put a coach next to him who he won't dominate. If you meet an athlete like this or like him, how can you find the tools to get through him without losing authority and without being able to put and push your plan through?
I mean, you kind of have to start to ally with him. You have to start to understand. I mean, you have to give a lot. And a lot of coaches find that very difficult to give ground to someone like that. And my opinion, I'm always learning from the athletes. I don't care who it is. If it's even a kid, you're learning from them. You're constantly learning from the athlete all the time. And you're adjusting and changing and taking from them what your game plan is. It's ever evolving. With someone like that, you have to learn. You have to match him. And I think that's really... You have to learn as fast as he's learning, or learn. You have to keep up. You have to learn as fast as he's willing to teach. So I think a lot of the players, or a lot of the coaches, should I say, have a problem with that. They're not keeping at his speed. And I think the way to earn his respect is to work like he's working. I mean, that's superhuman, don't get me wrong. So I think it's a very tall order, but I think you'd have to basically be putting in as much work as he's putting in. You'd have to beat him to the facility. You'd have to stay longer than him. You'd have to really show him both physically and mentally that you're going to outwork him. And then I think once you earn his respect, I think you won't. He's the kind of guy, I feel like once you earn his respect, you won't lose it as long as you keep doing what you say you'll do. But I feel like the coaches just, they need to be proving to him, you know, you need to earn his respect. And I think that's a very tall order.
If you could pick an athlete, current or past, who you could work with, and you can only name one, who is your dream athlete to work with?
It's so that would I could go through a million people for a million different reasons. It's gonna sound anticlimactic, but it would be LeBron. I mean, I just don't think we've ever seen an animal like LeBron. Like,
which phase?
Honestly, I would just love to be a fly on the wall of Mike Mancias. I would love to just working for Mike Mancias and being involved in what was actually going on behind the scenes. I don't even care. Just pick a phase. I would just love to see what was going on. I'd love to work with him because honestly, that's my opinion. I would out hustle him. I would. You wouldn't. I would be downing Red Bull and Monster. You wouldn't. It'd just be such a thrill. The way his brain is working. I mean, it's very obvious from what is going on and what we've heard from the memory thing and what he's doing on the court mentally as well as physically. And year 17, he's not slowing down. It's just, I would just be fascinated to learn from him. And I literally don't think I would ever stop. I'd just be I would just be going a mile a minute trying to pick things up, taking notes. I would keep a recorder, go home, be writing it down. It's just, there's so much to learn and so many ways to improve. It's just, we've never seen anything in any sport like him. I don't believe we have.
So what's up with you now? Are you leaving the pool and becoming an all-around?
For me, it's just, I want to work with athletes. I want to be a resource especially for Hungary, for any athlete that needs me, any athlete that, whatever it is, if it's nutrition, if it's psychology, if it's just, talking about I can shoot threes in practice, but can't. Working with them through that slow process, getting them to click on that. I just want to be the guy that they can turn to, whether it's on a contract, whether it's just a friend. A lot of these athletes, they know they can call me whenever they want. My number goes around. They need something. We set up a lunch, sit down. They just need to call me from New York at the US Open. Just give me a call. I'm available. You call me at 2 a.m. So it's cool to be involved with lots of sports. And for me, it really pulling, say from tennis and bringing that, and learning basketball during the finals and still trying to learn and understand what's going on and pulling that into swimming and then pulling that to the football field. I feel like it really, my approach is this performance and it's athletics. Then you choose what you want to do with it. You're an athlete first, and then you can choose what sport you want to do and how you want to do it. But you got to be an athlete first.
Is there a Phil Jackson for performance coaches? Is there an idol for you who does this to an extreme level?
I did get the fortunate situation to study under the late Ken Rebiza, he's considered roughly like the forefather of sports psychology, and he was kind of the leader of my graduate school back in LA. And it was just fast, just in the class with him. And it wasn't even necessarily the topic. It was just listening to him talk about his interactions with a lot of baseball players and athletes. So I've been very, very fortunate to be around a lot of great people. And then, just taking the time, I like to read. I'm obsessed with knowledge. I'm obsessed with knowing things. So getting to study any coach, I don't care who it is. I want to study any coach from any sport. If they write something and have an opinion, I might not agree with everything, but I want to take what they're clearly doing something right. I want to take from that and learn from it and pull the pieces out of it and kind of challenge how things fit together. And my whole career has been a kind of an ugly puzzle being put together, just kind of mixed matched, and we're getting there.
The basketball world needs an answer. What would you do with Taco Fall in order to teach him how to swim? Because Jaylen Brown and Enes Kanter did their best, but simply didn't give any place for his hands to move. Can a man with these dimensions swim stable for a longer round of time?
For sure. I mean, I've said actually to a couple people, I was joking, I was like, if LeBron starts to understand how to move water, and have us and kind of stick to the water and hold it, and it's just a feel. It's a feel of the water. I was like, he's done. The whole swimming world's done. He would take over. These guys are top athletes and the top of the world. So he for sure can learn to swim. It's just a matter of taking the time. And I actually think that him learning to swim is huge. If he can master better and better and by stages learning to swim, he's going to be a phenomenal player on the field, because if you can move in the water and the way he has to balance himself and stabilize and hold the water, he's going to be able to better be on the field.
One last question. I can't let you leave without an answer. Who the champion will be in the NBA this year?
Honestly, I'm going with the Lakers.
You heard it first. Shane goes with the Lakers. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best with this complete performance coach gig. And I hope that you will find your niche in Hungary.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. Thanks.
Remélem, hogy tetszett a beszélgetés, és beváltotta a hozzáfűzött reményeket. Ahogy mondtam, Patreonon teljes egészében megnézhető az interjú, ugyan felirat nélkül, és ha már a Patreon, akkor ezúton is szeretném megköszönni ennek az epizódnak a kreatív producereinek a támogatását, úgyis mint Engel Wrangler, Babos Máté, Bajcár Tofi, Bajor Krisztián, Balázs Péter, Balikó Attila, Barlai Tamás, Báron Péter, Braun Viktor, Burus Ákos, Capovics József, Csalogány Balázs, Családi Csaba, Csuka Balázs, Cuppon Gergő, Dagobert bácsi, Dájász, Dénes Viktor, DNK, DNL, Firon Dömötör, Gombafej 2, Gulyás Gergő, Guzmics Imre, Implom Soma, Katona Attila, Kecskés Gábor, Kenzler Marci, Kopcsák Viktor, Kovács Dávid, Kristóf Péter, Kun Dávid, Lakatos Tajti György, Lippai Gábor, Máté Geri, Mikula Dávid, Nagy András, Nagy Olivér, Nagy Roland, Németh Albert, Pál Bence, Pekár Botont, Polgár Dániel, Radics Zoltán, Sári Roland, Simon Péter, Szabó Sándor, Api Takács Dániel, Török Bálint, Ulicska Milán, Uport Zoltán, Varga Máté, Vécsei Gábor, Vendég Ryan és Vét 90. Velük egyébként 2 hetente össze is szoktunk gyűlni egy Google Meeten, sőt, a döntő 1-2 meccsét is együtt fogjuk nézni, majd online. Én köszönöm a figyelmet, Baska voltam, és hamarosan újabb videóval jelentkezem. Köszönöm, hogy velem tartottatok a reggeli pipák tömkelebében. Remélem, hogy a döntőértékelő videó live streamekben is majd találkozunk. Én Baska voltam, sziasztok!